Hi, thanks for joining in. This is a continuation of the Scrapbooker to Cardmaker series. It's also a card that anybody can make just using some pattern paper and the cardstock and a few punches. If you are looking for a card that doesn't need stamping, this is a great card to make. So I've got 3 punches that I'm going to be using: a scallop punch, 1-inch circle, and a 1.5-inch circle. You could use other kind of circle cutting systems. And I've already cut 3 scallops out of white cardstock. I have a 4-inch wide by 8.5-inch long piece of cardstock that I've folded to create this card. You could of course make it 4 1/4, the traditional size, but if you're working, as we talked about in the last video, with 12 by 12 paper, 4 inches wide gets you more out of the paper. I'm also going to be using some leftover chipboard letters and a little bit of twine, and there are a lot of things you could substitute for the twine. So to make this card, I need to punch some circles, and I'm going to start with my 1.5-inch punch and use several of my green designer papers. I'm using a lot of scrap designer paper. Most of this I think is from one collection from Cosmo Cricut, but it could be anything that coordinates together, anything you have left over. So I'm just going to punch several of these circles. And how they're going to be arranged on the card, I can start building the card as we go along. I'm going to be creating 3 rows and putting my scallops 1 per row, and then I'll be using the circles that I punch in the middle of the scallops and also by themselves. Let's see, getting out of this text. We'll put some by themselves. So I'm going to keep going through my green paper and finish up all of the punches. Okay, now that I have 6 1.5-inch diameter green pattern circles, I want to put some smaller embellishments in 5 of these, and the last one we'll use for our greeting. So I'm going to work with some of my other pattern papers, and where I can I'll punch out some kind of design to go in the middle. This paper is a great one for punching or cutting out a design. I'll use this one. Also got some darker red flowers there that I could use. And I'll just continue on punching the rest of these. Okay, so now I have all of my circles punched, and I have an optional step for you. If you have inks and an ink blending tool, which a lot of people are using in scrapbooking today, that is a very nice thing to do to your punched pieces. You don't have to do this, but it just adds a little bit extra. I'm using antique linen, which is one of my favorite distressing colors because it's very subtle. It doesn't add a lot of color, it just gives a slight aged look. And it'll especially finish off that white edge that gets that shows when you punch something. So I would just do this to all of the pieces. Okay. And then we'll come back for the final step. Alright, I'm ready to adhere the pieces down. With a card, you do want to make sure everything gets glued down very well because it is going to be handled quite a bit usually. And I could do some measuring here if I wanted to, but I think that I can eyeball this and get things in a good place. You could also use dimensional adhesive if you wanted to pop some of these up. That would work too. Okay. Alright, and I'll just continue adding the adhesive. For the greeting, I'm using some chipboard that is pretty well used. I've used a lot of letters out of this, but I still have an H and an I, so I can spell hi on the bottom of my card, and that's why I left this one green circle without a center to it. about a smaller circle, so that I could apply this chipboard. And I'll probably add some extra adhesive to this, because that's usually what's necessary with a lot of these chipboards. They just don't stick. So I'll probably add some Tombow Mono multi-glue or any type of glue to hold that down a little bit better. And then the last step for the card will be to use some twine. Now, other things that you could use, embroidery floss or ribbon. This is small ribbon. You don't have twine, lots of different things. And I'm going to bring this around and tie it in a bow. I like to wrap my ribbon around twice, sometimes 3 times if there's room. Okay. And there's our 6-circle card, all ready to send. If you have stamps, you can put a stamped greeting on the inside. You can use a rub-on, or you can just handwrite your greeting. Thank you for joining me.